Obviously, I met you in jail.
Yeah.
And what I heard and knew of you and everything like that, I just thought, wow, like I know there's gonna be a lot of people who would like to hear it.
The drive to my life at the moment is bringing awareness on lots of different levels, but awareness is a massive word. But it's bringing awareness to the criminal justice system and its failings, structurally and systemically. But as I sort of got a little bit older into my teens, and I think I started to get a little bit naughtier, just, I don't know, like that drink, drug lifestyle. It's sort of like I really got into it.
Leamington as well.
Leamington, 16, 17 years old. It's sort of like, he opened this door to a room, very large room, that was just covered in strings.
What an elder.
It was just, there was buds like that, that big, like that, and I was like, man, how do you do this? I didn't know how. I saw what they were doing. They were going around being the gangster, bringing attention to themselves, going around being loud out, you know, all of that sort of thing. I was never like that. I was clever.
The Ribcage Podcast. The Ribcage Podcast. You're now in tune to the Ribcage Podcast.
What? Come on, let's go. Let's go, yeah. Welcome to the Ribcage Podcast, everyone. It's been a while, but we're back. And today I'm honored to have my co-host, Stuart Hawks. I'm not going to say too much about his story because it's his story. And he's going to, just let us know, what it's like. Stuart, my blessings, brother.
This don't feel right to me.
Yes. You've been putting it off for a hot minute, bro. So
the thing is, like, it's like doing an autobiography when you're 20 years old and you've got nothing to say. And I feel like sometimes you can talk about your own story and it just comes on like a load of moaning and sort of trying to find some sympathy or something, which isn't why I'm here. So,
but you know why I wanted your story was because obviously I met you in jail.
Yeah.
And what I heard and knew of you and everything like that, I just thought, wow, like I know there's gonna be a lot of people who would like to hear it and maybe can emphasize, is that the word? Emphasize?
Yeah, empathize.
Emphasize, you know what I mean? Yeah, emphasize with it. Or, some people might have gone through it, But I'm going to let you tell your story. So let's go first then, Mr. Hawks. What you up to right now?
Oh, man. Loads, actually. Yeah, it's weird. Been out of prison 6 months. And in that 6 months, I sort of, like, when I was inside, I set myself a challenge about what sort of the person I wanted to be and what I wanted to do, and it's all materialising. So what am I doing now?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What I'm actually doing. So where I'm living in a homeless hostel. That's my living situation.
Okay.
Not the best, but it's my option at the moment.
Okay.
And in all fairness, it sounds mad. It really does.
I couldn't tell.
But
I couldn't tell. You look good.
You
look well, bro.
Yeah, but the reality is, it's an institution. I've been so used to institutions, it feels like home from home, so I actually quite like it. And it ain't the worst place. You probably think, in your head, you imagine it worse than it actually is. But aside from that, so I work when I can to earn money, but the drive to my life at the moment is bringing awareness on lots of different levels, but awareness is a massive word. But it's bringing awareness to the criminal justice system and its failings, structurally and systemically. Trying to help with reducing trauma. So whether that's on an individual basis or trying to do things which can stretch a little bit further. So one thing, we work with the Band of Brothers. It's, you know,
shout out to the Band of Brothers.
So they really
skibidi bop bop bop.
They really teach you. The way that I'll explain it is like this: if you go to the bowling alley and you've never bowled before, and you get the bowling ball in your hand and you throw it down the alley and you're hoping to get 10 pins, the likelihood is it's going to go in the gully at the side and you're going to achieve nothing. That's how I see it. A band of brothers is like those pieces of foam that sit in the gullies. So every time you make a decision or every time you throw that ball down the alley, it's like the boundaries. It's like the guide that's always going to keep you on track. Does that make sense to you?
The boundaries.
Yeah. So
yes.
I think
the gully is
the gully's like the
A-Bob.
The gully is like where you make mistakes, where you trip up, where you fail.
Okay.
Because you're not making the right sort of decisions.
Okay.
But I feel like, do you know, when you go there on the kiddies alley, they don't have that gully. They just have the foam down the side.
Yeah.
So they can just go along, throw the ball, and they're going to get the pins.
That's A-Bob.
I feel A-Bobs is like that thing that stops you falling down the gully.
I love that way you've described it. I've never heard it.
That's how I feel. So like, although in my head to a degree, I knew the difference between right and wrong, and I knew the difference between making the right decisions and the wrong decisions. But when you have it clear in front of you and you can use it on a daily basis in every aspect of your life, it really sort of emphasizes your life. But that's a Band of Brothers. Aside from that, I'm working with an organisation called Penal Reform Solutions, / Grow, Transform, Belong, which I believe they're the only organisation in the world or globally that are dealing with trying to find a route to changing the culture of prison, the failing structures and frameworks that are built up around them. And I'm having some really like good conversations with them. And this past week I got invited on an online event. And there's
thank you for the invitation.
Two or three of the guests. Two of the guests. Yeah. And we were talking about these issues, but that's hopefully the start of something that's moving for me, which is there's lots of different things that I'm getting involved with. Data metrics and just ideas, reading reports. Just there's so much talk goes on about the criminal justice system and how it needs to be changed, but very few people actually say, okay, this is how it needs to change, but this is how we're going to put it into action. And I love that side of things, actually putting things into action.
Yeah.
What else am I doing? I don't know. You asked me why I do this podcast, don't I?
Absolutely. Well, you're my co-host, bro. You forgot. I mean, I was waiting for when you was going to say that, but like, you know, yep, you do this podcast with me. Yeah, absolutely.
I do it because I feel like I think all of these things, and if you're trying to grow, doing all of these things and talking about stuff and showing your vulnerabilities and working through your fears and sharing in your joy, it's all a part of growing. So this is why I do things like this, and I do them on a regular basis as possible, because the more that you talk about stuff, the more that you become back to the more that you become aware of yourself and your environment and the people around you, and from that you can create better relationships, you can make better decisions, you can see opportunities. And that journey that I'm on the moment, that's where I am now, and I'm loving it. You know.
I didn't quite catch that. You know, like. So you're meeting networking basically. Yeah,
networking. But I think from
with this podcast,
I just think from everything from this podcast, from doing all of these individual things and working on yourself, what that does, or what it's done for me is it's made me become more aware of myself, what's around.
Bless you.
Myself, what's around me. Yeah, these it's made me understand the world a little bit more, and maybe being able to have a fuller life. If I didn't do these things that regularly grounded me, if I didn't do these things which kept me on track, then I wouldn't be achieving or wouldn't be able to achieve what I wanted to achieve. I'll be going backwards or sideways.
Beautiful.
Or driving myself crazy, or
And I think that's why we wanted you on here with us as well, because me and John, our fact checker and engineer, this ribcage would not be able to run without him. You know what I'm saying to you?
mechanical maestro.
Absolutely. Orchestrator, engineer, I've said that. But he and me, we were talking about, you know what I mean, well, who we should have, and we were like, yo, Stewie, man, because we've heard you speak. I know you from, but we'll get to that, and just your passion in trying to reform for yourself and others. There was no way that, you know, you wouldn't fit right in your, we see right through you to your rib cage. You know,
Bare bones.
Bare bones, mother. sorry. Yeah. So, okay then. I mean, I love that. And that's beautiful. And so I think that would be nice for me, if you don't mind me starting with then. So who is Stuart, as in like your childhood? Like, how was you when you grew up?
So I grew up in a village, and I was actually really lucky growing up, because like the start of my life was actually sort of like good, had potential, because my grandparents still lived in my great grandparents' house. I had my aunts and uncles in the village, both sets of grandparents, one great grandmother, great aunts, my mum and my dad, and we all. So it was like I had 2 brothers at the time and a sister on the way. So it was like a good start in life, you know. You had all the family around you, nice village life.
Beautiful.
But yeah, it was 2 brothers, 1 sister. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. Good. I mean, I feel like I need to know what area. You don't have to say the road, but what area would that be?
Near Leamington, yeah.
Oh, Leamington,
Yeah,
Royal Leamington Spa. Yeah. Beautiful place. Actually, it's a beautiful place, man.
Yeah, nice place to grow up around.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do feel blessed and lucky, because a lot of people, they don't have that start in life, you know. They don't have that. So things could have been so much worse for me if my situation had been any different at that young age, you know.
Yeah. What school did you go to?
Cubbington Primary School.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good school?
Yeah, great school. Yeah, do you know, my mum sent me, my first day of school, sent me wearing like shorts.
Yeah. Oh, shorts there.
Long white socks.
Oh, wow.
Shirt.
Yeah.
Blazer. And a cap.
Oh, wicked.
I was the only one in the school that had it. And it's like my granddad's cap when he went to that school.
No way.
It was like about 80 years old anyway.
No way.
Like a complete fool.
No way. Nobody else followed the rules. Just you.
Everyone just went in normal school clothes. I got sent in some like I was coming from the 1930s.
That's a good parent, isn't it? Just because other kids are not wearing the shoes does not mean you have to. That's what, you know, them type of things that your mums and dads used to say.
So I'm looking back and thinking they sent me off to school that morning laughing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, is that the type of... Okay. I hear you. All right, then. And then after primary school, did you go secondary?
Yeah, I went to secondary school in Warwick, yeah. But I've got to be honest, like, I struggled at secondary school. I don't know why. Well, my parents split up when I first started going there, and I look back now thinking, did I struggle because of that? But I think really my social group was outside of school, and at school I didn't really. I had friends, but there wasn't really anybody that I like clicked with, if that made sense. I did have friends, don't get me wrong, but my real friends, if that made sense, which a small group, was outside of school.
Are you saying that now because you're a wiser man? Blessings. Like, even like you mentioned about your mom and dad splitting up. Are you saying that now because it might have contributed to...
Well, I think obviously it must have, because I think traumatic things in your life mould you in a certain way. And I think you can almost, like, if you're not aware of yourself and who you are, you can almost like brush it into the carpet and say that didn't affect me.
Yeah.
And you might not even know how it's affecting you, but everything affects you. So every experience and interaction that you have in your life
ever addressed it
affects you. Have I addressed it? I don't feel like it's something that really that I need to talk about.
But even for yourself, not even to talk about on here, like, ever had the chance to sort of address that to see whether it affected you in any way or form.
Well, I know it has affected me in a way, because obviously, if you're not brought up in that loving relationship, sometimes the aftermath of what comes after breakups can be worse than the actual breakup anyway. Do you know what I mean? So, I think what's affected me more, it wasn't the actual breakup of my parents, it was the trauma that came after that. So having to deal with having no heating in the house, and my mum being broken, and baby sister 2 years old, and a lot of responsibility. At that age, it's almost like I went.
How old are you? How old was you then?
About 12. So I went from being a boy to being a man. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't. I don't think my dad leaving. So be it. I know it sounds a bit cold, but it didn't really affect me. But I think the aftermath of what I had to deal with after that, I think that's what affected me.
Beautiful, interesting. So did you finish school?
Yeah, finished school. Yeah, finished school. Went to.
How your grades?
I got like 5 C's or something like that.
You're smart, blood.
It's not good, is it?
What do you mean C? What? You getting C's? You're up there, blood.
I don't know.
Not a C's is all right, mate. Yo, I told my son that if he got C's, he's good.
I don't think I really cared too much. That was the thing.
C's is good.
I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I didn't really. After that, I went to college and did business for like 6 months or something. But then I had a mate who had a bed sit up the road, so I used to go to college every morning, and instead of going to college, I used to go and sit in his bed sit and smoke weed all day.
You didn't like
that wasn't my thing.
You don't like going to school, yeah? Okay, then. I mean, I think we'll touch on something that you sort of said you got diagnosed later on, and you didn't. You wasn't diagnosed then. I hate assuming, but I would believe.
No. I still haven't been diagnosed now. So I'm on an 18-month waiting list. But after working with an amazing woman in prison that sort of brought it to light for me. So yes, it's obviously I'm on the autism spectrum, which actually, like looking back now, I think half the reason why I found it hard to interact with people when I was at school is because I thought a little bit differently and probably didn't connect in the same way.
It wasn't known a lot then, neither, was it?
No, and I think even now, sort of, it's nice to know because you can sort of think, oh, well, this is the reason I do things in a certain way. It's not just because I'm a little bit strange.
So was your class as a naughty kid? Or like you said, strange, like, it was introverts, quiet.
I think I was more of an introvert than naughty. Wow. Don't get me wrong, like, I got up to no good, but I wasn't like one of these naughty kids that fucking caused loads of trouble. I was never like, I've always been in my own head. Do you know what I mean? Always thinking a lot.
I was going to say too smart to get caught.
Maybe, but everyone gets caught in the end.
Yeah, we do. All right then. So I mean, with that sort of characteristics, what was your friend group like then?
So outside of there's like 3 or 4 villages around the village that I was, and there was 5 of us. You ever seen that film Stand By Me? Yes. And it's like 5 mates, and they go looking for a dead body at a train track.
Okay,
it's an old film, real.
Yeah, of course. I think was that good in it as well?
It's got Corey Haim in it, and
Macaulay Culkin?
No, it's like in the 80s, a film from the 80s. But we were like that. So there's 5 friends, and we used to like cycle to my mate's farm, which is like the furthest away village.
One of them down the train track.
Yeah, well, it was just like cycling around and having mad adventures, building dens and playing in the woods, going canoeing, getting old knackered cars and driving them in fields and motorbikes, and it's crazy time, like young kids in the countryside sort of thing. Okay. So that was my friendship group, like when I was a young teenager, and when I was at primary school. But my friendship, I had friends at school and all that sort of thing, but they were never really I don't keep in contact with none of them now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the others I do. So. But as I sort of got a little bit older into my teens, and I think I started to get a little bit naughtier, just, I don't know, like that drink, drug lifestyle. It's sort of like I really got into it.
Leamington as well.
Leamington, 16, 17 years old. It's sort of like.
When was your first, when did you start taking drugs? And be specific as well. Was it weed? What type was you?
It was, the first thing, it was hash.
Yeah.
It was, I think I was about 13 or 14, at my mate's farm. So we had some, because Coventry was quite close to this village, or it wasn't close, but people used to come over to the pub, and it was a proper old country pub then.
Yeah.
And we was like 13, 14-year-olds drinking in the pub they'd let us. It was like, and these lads from Coventry used to come over. So we used to start buying hash from them. That's 13, 14. 15, 16, we started buying pink champagne, which is a mixture of cocaine and speed.
Wow.
And then we was buying weed as well. And then all of a sudden it was like, actually, the countryside isn't where it's at. It's the raves are where it's at, and the clubs and the drugs and the women, and also that sort of lifestyle started kicking off. But, yeah, it was like that 1990s techno scene, happy hardcore house, jungle, that whole sort of like, it was a different world, you know.
Wow. So like bass, yeah, bass. That's bass in it. Pink champagne.
Well, I think what it was.
Bass, that is.
I think it was amphetamines mixed with coke.
Yeah. I'm sure
but we used to I used to go out every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and I would always have speed and ease mixed together for 3 or 4 years. You know, well, from 16 to 2021 or whatever it was.
Wow.
So yeah, 19, 20, something like that.
Okay, then it's okay then. So after you was in the drugs, did you ever get into trouble? Because, you know, there's always that thing that, once you start taking drugs, it becomes a downward spiral. I mean, you know, what was that for you then? Like, you know, did you get into a relationship, you know? Or what was your...
My relationship with, at first it was just sort of recreational, but then you sort of think, I'll start buying, you know, getting a little bit in for myself, and I'll sell some to my friends, which then makes your weekend free. And then all of a sudden somebody wants a little bit of a bigger bit or something. So, do you know what I mean? So, and that was like I was always making money somehow from doing something for many years. Yeah. The biggest thing really, I was growing a lot of weed at the time. So it used to bring in a lot of money for me, which sort of gave me a lifestyle that I wanted. Okay.
So you enjoyed your weed stuff and things like that?
I always enjoyed gardening, full stop. So like, if I could make a lot of money out of growing a plant, it was like a win-win for me.
Wow.
So plus I was smoking a lot as well, but half of that was to do with self-medicating because I couldn't stabilise or couldn't understand my autism and the effects from it. Yeah, how it affected me.
I feel like I want to hear a bit more because, like, obviously you don't look, and I think you don't look like somebody who was a gardener. And when I mean by gardening, that's somebody who, am I allowed to say it? Grows weed, isn't it? Yeah, you know. And I think it's. How do I feel about this? I feel a bit personal about this in a bit, and I'm not going to try and make it personal because a lot of people think that they see me, it's obvious, you know, what you are, even though you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. But like even me now, I would not have even thought about you being a
but you know what?
Gardener. Why did you get into doing that? You know, you said you paid for yourself.
Just to smoke a lot of weed, and then I went to horticultural college. That's what I did.
Okay, what's that?
College, which tells you how to grow things.
Oh, right.
I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Farmer. So you wanted to be a farmer?
I wanted to be a gardener. Well, I didn't know what I wanted, but I know I like gardening, and I was like 19 or 19 years old. I thought, well, I'll go to horticultural college and I'll try and get some sort of degree or qualification.
Shout out to that college for showing hawks how to grow weed.
But when I was there, I met a guy called Keith, who was at the time hydroponics. It was like there was
a student.
He was a student, yeah, same age as me, but very, very intelligent man. And he'd been growing weed for a good few years, but hydroponics had just come in. I think there was 2 grow shops around here, really small they were at the time, literally like a handful of customers. But he used to rent big country houses out and fill it full of weed. And we went out with 2 girls one night, and we went back to his. It was like a big hall. It was like a big stately home thing. And we walked in, fucking great, and he says, "Right, Stuart," and he turned around to me. So I'd been to college with him, and he was coming with great big buds like this every day. So we were just smoking weed all day at college, just getting absolutely. And we went back one night to his place with these 2 girls, and he says, "Right, I'm going to show you something, but you've got to promise me."
What's his name? Okay,
I'm not going to say his surname.
Thank you, I love that.
But he opened this door to a room, very large room
Wow.
that was just covered in strings.
What an elder.
It was just, there was buds like that,
Wow.
that big, like that. And I was like, how do you do this? I didn't know how to
Wow.
grow weed. I didn't
Yeah.
and I'd smoking it, but I'd never really, I'd put some in pots outside growing. But said, wow, how'd you do this? He says, I'll show you. So he showed me about hydroponics and introduced me to the right people. Then I started growing. But when I left college, I started working on big country estates, like for lords and ladies and the super wealthy. So there's like second gardener and head gardener. But what I'd always do is I'd always have a little crop of weed going, wherever it was, or a few houses with the weed going. So I would always have this good money coming in, but from the outside I was respectable and I was working and I tried to be clever with it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people try and do that, and some people get away with it, and some people can't get away with it because that money takes over. You know, you start buying flashy cars, gold teeth, and all that type of stuff.
No, I never did that.
Yeah, so some people know how to blend in, man. They don't get.
But nobody knew I was doing it either. Even my close friends.
That's my point.
Nobody knew. There's one or two people that used to help me out when I was in emergencies that would know, but that was it. There's nobody else. So it was like, as far as everyone else was concerned, I was just earning a wage. You know?
A working guy.
Working guy.
A working guy. Yeah. So didn't you get involved in like robberies or, you know, fighting? You know, Leamington's got some sick clubs, man.
Yeah,
I remember back in the day, man. I can't remember the names now, man. But bad things used to go on in Leamington, bro.
Growing up, yeah, there was always like my teens and my early 20s. Do you know what though? When I started getting sort of 21, though, I did start thinking a little bit of a different way.
Go on.
But so you obviously, like when you're growing up, you're young and you think you're the man. You're always going to be fighting. There's always going to be some sort of I don't want to say negative. You're gonna learn from your mistakes. Do you know what I mean? So you're gonna do shit which you regret. But when I got to sort of 21 and I got a job on this estate and I got a tied cottage with it, and all of a sudden I was like, do you know what? I want something out of life. But in my head, I was still a child, and I didn't know how to. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know how to achieve anything, and I was just going along with this. I'd been to college, I'd got myself a job. Now, apparently, because I had a house, a job, I had a couple of dogs, you know, some chickens in the yard, I was a man, but I wasn't. I was a child. I hadn't got a fucking clue if that's what I wanted to do, if it wasn't what I wanted to do. I just fell into something, do you know what I mean? But, yeah, I think...
So you didn't get into no fights?
What, in the teenage years?
Well, you know, like when you're doing jaws and them things and going out in Leamington, man, you know?
Yeah, but so for the weed thing, I'd have one person every time I had a crop. I had one person used to come and pick up boxes of it, and boxes. I didn't even know how much is in there.
What's the best yield you've had out of a room?
Best yield per plant. Like, and at the time I was growing, so the best quality and best yield I've ever got was White Widow, and I'm talking 1990, so think about this, 97, so 1998, something like that. I was growing White Widow, but I was growing, you know, they weren't very big plants, but I was getting 6 ounces of plant off it, and so basically, from each watt of light, I was getting 1 gram of weeds, which is basically the best. You can't do any better than that.
Don't know much about weed, bro.
Yeah, it was just really. But but you know, some crops maybe £60,000, you know, in small rooms. But when you've got you've got 3 or 4 rooms, constantly on a cycle. Yeah. What annoyed me, it did actually turn into a fault. So I was working all day as a normal job. I enjoyed doing it, to be quite honest. I like to keep myself busy, but then every night, 5-6 nights a week, I'd be going to a different room, changing the water, doing whatever you need to do, taking a crop down, stripping. You know, there was always something going on, you know, and it got a little bit. The money was nice, but it got a little bit stressful.
Yeah. I feel like I think maybe even that's why you were more cognito. Do you think because
I saw all of the people that are family members, friends. I saw what they were doing. They were going around being the gangster, bringing attention to themselves, going around being loud out, you know, all of that sort of thing. I was never like that. I was clever.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought I don't need to. What I was trying to achieve wasn't the ego side of things. Wasn't the.
Are you sure? Because like when you're young, man, you know what I mean. You can't help but to sort of like
But I think
fall into that characteristic.
I think because of my autism though, I found it very hard to sort of like. I'd want to shy away a little bit. So
okay.
I wouldn't want to.
That's a gift, then, isn't it?
Yeah, but
if I can say that.
Yeah, but then on the opposite hand, if somebody upsets me, I can switch quite quickly.
Absolutely, that's not even what I was getting at.
So it's sort of like I find, and I've struggled that emotionally trying to balance myself my whole life. So I've either quite often it's either been I've been depressed or happy or whatever. Then I'm complete. I'll be depressed and all of a sudden it's flipped over. I'm happy. Or I'm happy and flipped over, and all of a sudden I'm really angry because something's been said to me and I haven't been able to.
Yeah, I understand that bit. But what I was trying to get at though for you, Stewie, was that because of that emotional, you could be that way or that way. That kind of helped you in the line of the work you did because you didn't want to be I don't know what the word for opposite of introvert. You know what I'm saying?
Extrovert.
Extrovert. You know what I'm saying? So you didn't feel like showing off. You didn't feel like boasting like I would have. I did. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So yeah, so that's what I mean by it was a gift in one way.
Yeah.
Okay then. So all right then. So what about what else? What else happened? Like, you know, I feel like you're not. I feel like you're not. You know, you're not. I feel like it's so rosy at the minute. But like, I also know you got any kids.
So yeah. Well, what can I say? Like, let's just say from what we've talked about, my mind was never in the right place. I was never stable. I was never comfortable in my own skin. I was never confident enough to be able to.
You know that you from being an older man now, you could tell.
I know that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking back, that's the person that I was. I wasn't a fully developed person, and I didn't have anybody around me to show me how to develop. So that's how I.
Tell me the story about the immature, not fully developed. Not fully those things that you said. So tell me about that kid.
Delusional.
Yeah, tell me about that kid then. I want to hear about that kid, G.
So I had it in my head, like for years and years, I thought all I want to do is I want to like live on the land somewhere and hunt with my dogs and
for real
horse riding. That's what I wanted. That was my dream. Do you know what I mean? That's why I went into Ghana. And in my head for years, like 20 years. In my head, that's what I was going to do. There was nothing taking me away from that. That's what I was going to do. So every job that I took on, every skill that I learned was to make sure I could achieve that. All I needed was the money. But what I really should have been concentrating was earning the money to buy the fucking piece of land, not concentrate on the skills that I need, because without land, them skills are completely useless.
You know, you sometimes baffle me with your descriptive. You're so just. So what did you just say then? So all you could have done was
what I should have done.
You wanted the land.
Yeah.
To buy money, you threw me off after that.
So what I really needed to achieve my dreams and my goals was to earn money so I could buy the land.
But what was you doing instead?
I was learning the skills I needed so when I got the land, I could do the job. Oh. So do you know what I mean? So it's almost like, I don't know, I learned how to paint really well, but I've got no canvas.
No.
Do you see what I'm saying? So that's what I said. I was like delusional, you know, young, like running as fast as I can to try and get somewhere, but just fucking absolutely no idea where I was going.
That was, that's a how you can comment there.
Yeah,
I'm a painter, but I got no canvas.
Yeah,
that's serious.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. And I didn't. And to be quite honest, I wasn't mature enough to be able to paint a decent picture anyway. But in my head,
I mean, you're being humble there.
No,
you're being humble there because I know about you as well. I'm not sure whether you told me. No. I'm not sure whether you told me, but you know, I know your brother as well. Yes, yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that I got told that you did all right actually in the bod world.
Bud world,
yeah, in the bud world, you know what I mean.
It kept me afloat for years.
I got told you.
And initially, in the early days when nobody was really growing like that, it was easy. It was easy money. as the years have gone on, everybody seems to be doing it now. It's a different world. But back then, we're talking 20 odd years ago, 25 years ago, it was an easy thing for me to do, and I lived a really good lifestyle. A good lifestyle. Didn't want for nothing, you know. So, but I was young, stupid with the money. Didn't probably put it where I should have. I wanted to, you know, I can remember. I earned a load of money. I actually split up with a girlfriend, and yeah, so that was like the next thing. I had a girlfriend in my mid-20s, and we broke up with her, and she was like the love of my life, sort of thing. And that sort of like it was like a final straw, sort of emotionally for me. I think any balance that I had, that took that away. But what happened at that point was, because I'd just grown, I chopped down the crops had all come in together, so I chopped them down. I'd sold them all. I had a Range Rover. I sold that, bought myself a little Fiesta. Sold all my furniture, anything that was left over. I burnt.
After the split up with this.
Split up, yeah.
Okay.
And I just put I had 2 terriers. I put 2 terriers, a bag full of clothes in this little Fiesta, a bin bag of weed. It seems mad, doesn't it? Like now I'm thinking back that I had what wasn't a bin bag, it was a black bin liner, and it was half full of weed, so it was like bigger than a football, you know, weed.
Yeah, massive. Come on.
And I got in the car and I just drove, and I was driving down the M40. My brother calls me up, he goes, "What are you doing?" I says, "I don't know, Sam." He goes, "Where are you?" I says, "I'm in a service station." No, it wasn't the M40, the M6 or somewhere. It was fucking miles away. He says, "What are you doing? Where are you going?" I says, "I don't know, I just know I knew I had to get away, so I've sold everything. I've got rid of everything. I've just got the 2 dogs and a bag." And he says, "I was down in Cornwall last week." And he goes, "I had an argument with a girlfriend, and so I called a taxi. The taxi driver picked me up, and he had his Rottweiler dog with him. And he said to the taxi driver, 'Is there anywhere where I can stay?' And the taxi driver says, 'I've got a caravan, you can stay in there if you like.' So my brother goes, 'Well,' so I said to him, 'I think I might go down to Newquay.'" This is your brother now? Yeah.
Wow.
So my brother, he says, I told him I was thinking of going down to Newquay, so he told me the story. He says, "Give Dan a call. Because when you get down there, explain who you are, blah, blah, blah." So I got down to Newquay, started drinking, met this really nice girl in the pub. Well, I thought she was nice. I thought, what am I going to do now? I thought, I'll give this Dan a call. So I said, "Listen, you don't know me. I don't know you. You met my brother. I've got 2 dogs with me. I need somewhere to stay, blah, blah, blah." And he went, "I'll tell you what, I'll come and meet you." So I met him in the car park, and I had this little pit bull Patterdale dog. He was a little tiny brown thing with pointy ears. He used to walk around like that, little thing. But he had the female version. It was like Lady and the Tramp.
Okay.
And he was basically like the mirror. We were like mirror images of each other. Like really good friends.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I just spent like then, because I had a load of money in ISAs and in the bank and loads of cash in my pocket, bags of weed, you know, like not a cow. I didn't need to work for years if I didn't want it, if I was clever. And but I just started driving around. I met a girl in Camden, just driving around and having the time of my life, eating at amazing restaurants, 5-star restaurants, and I walk in with flip-flops, a pair of shorts and a vest on, do you know what I mean?
Wow. So you went on like a rebellious...
Yeah, I just sort of like, this is what I tend to do. I'll earn the money and have them and think, fuck it, do you know what, I might as well have a bit of fun now, sort of thing. Okay. But usually it happens at crisis points, like I'm running away. Like I'm running away from something. Bury my head in the sand, rather than deal with it, I'll run away. So that's what I used to do as a kid. But
wow, that's deep, man. So after a relationship, you sold everything. So that must have cut you up, and then went on a road trip, basically.
Yeah, and I didn't. That went on for about a year. I just drove around. And
went on a road trip.
Went to New Zealand for 6
What? You went to New Zealand as well?
Just like.
So you mean to walk the?
I spent a year and a half, 2 years doing what the fuck I wanted, eating what I wanted, until I'd spent all my money.
Till what age was that then? That's a good road trip,
late 20s.
Wow. Wow, you missed this guy, man. There was this guy that there was this guy at ABOB last week, and he's on a road trip. He's just come back from somewhere, and he's going to Sweden. Don't know if it's finished with a relationship, but he said F a woman. So, maybe it is, I'm not having no girlfriend. I'm not having no kids. I'm happy with myself.
Do you know what?
And he just took off. So now he's going to Sweden. Don't quote me with that word, but he's going somewhere, And to get to where he's got to go to is 70 kilometers or 70 miles away. And guess how he's getting there?
Cycling.
He's walking.
Walking.
He's walking. And he's taking no food with him. He's going to forest. He's going to do all
Forage and all that.
Oh my days. I thought this guy.
The thing is,
wow.
It's about sort of finding yourself, aren't you?
I feel
you go through a thing, especially with a relationship. Your relationship breaks down. You've got to find yourself again, haven't you? You've got to find where you sit in the world.
Yeah, I feel like when I look at him, he doesn't speak much, but when he speaks powerful. And he also said something that because of this place that he just come back from, he said he met so many different types of people that he's been able to learn so much. I don't know what he tried to say, like why wisdom.
Wisdom,
yeah. You know.
Well, you only get that through like
powerful kid.
I think when you go away from people that you know in your home area and things start happening, you know, different cultures, you're forced to mix with different people in different cultures, and then you get experiences out of that, which sort of like helps you grow and develop as a person.
What was the massive thing that happened in New Zealand then? Or on that road trip that you went on for 2.5 years?
What was the best thing that happened?
No, the craziest.
The craziest thing that happened. I don't know what. There's.
In a car? You drove in a car, yeah?
Well, around this country, yeah, and in New Zealand. So, what can I say? I just used to spend my life going from. So I did for a long time, start off in Leamington, drive down to my friends in Sidmouth, which is in South Devon, drive to Cornwall, spend a week, a month, 6 weeks there, surfing, partying,
literally surfing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I'd go from Newquay to Camden, so I'd have a girlfriend in Camden, but she was working for Chrysalis Music, so all she was doing was whining and dining and fucking buying cocaine for fucking like artists, music artists. I forget who they were at the moment, but at the time, real famous people. So we used to go to like after show parties and all that. And I'd turn up literally. All I ever used to wear was a pair of fucking shorts, flip flops, and a vest.
I love that look.
And I'd turn up in the parties, and they'd all be wearing like
I love that
white
look.
skinny leather trousers and white leather jackets and all that.
I love that. There was a guy in the cinema that was mentioned about that. He's a famous actor. He is Adam Sandler. He does the same thing as well. He goes to expensive dinners and all that type of things in shorts and flip flops.
But
so anyway, highlight. What was the lowest point of your thing then?
The lowest point. Well, the reality was the reason that I was doing all of that was to escape the pain of the breakup that I had with a partner. So, although I was having a lot of fun experiences, spending all. Like deep down, I was just dealing with the loss and the grief of a relationship. So that was the low point. But you know, this was like, again, at that point, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know how to react to situations. I didn't know how to deal with emotions. I didn't understand myself or how to communicate with others. Probably why the relationship broke down in the first place. Constant trend through my life, not understanding really who I was and who I wanted to be.
Sounds like that first relationship, I'm sure, can resound to a lot of people. You know, first breakups.
But I think that's probably like
it's a painful one, isn't it?
Second or third breakup that I'd actually had. I think.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? I think, but I never coped very well with breakups.
Okay then. I mean, like, obviously I know you, so like I met you in jail. So tell us, like, what was that about then? Like,
so where do I start really? So I met the sort of the love of my life. I was how old was I? I'd have been 30.
So this is after your road trip.
Yeah, not far along. So after. Oh, there's lots that's happened. What can I say? My life's been a roller coaster. Like, so I lived on an estate for a wealthy lord. I had a caravan and I kept a load of hunting dogs, so I used to hunting deer. And I lived on 300 acres in a big caravan, and in a local village opposite the local pub, I met this girl. Just like for, head over heels, like probably the only person that I probably actually truly loved, I think. But we had just a nice life, with each other for years. Had a little baby girl with her. But then where this story starts, like we had a girl, so obviously work off the principle of make no assumptions with a band of brothers, something like, I said those bowling alley, those guidelines, we need to make no assumptions.
Yeah.
And although it's not so much of an assumption, but I've never seen it firsthand myself, just secondhand. She had an affair, and cut a long story short, took out a non-molestation order and took my daughter. But I found it very difficult to be able to cope with the relationship breakdown, more so not being seeing my daughter. And after trying to contact her to get access to my daughter, because she wasn't turning up for the arranged custody meetings, I ended up going to prison for breaching the non-molestation order. But by then, the head was gone. I didn't care. So a non-molestation order is, so anybody, any person can go to a civil court. I'm not too sure how much it costs now, but it's between 100 and 150 pounds, and you can pay for an application to stop somebody contacting you. Now they don't need evidence to take out the order. They can do that when it goes to court, but they need evidence for it to stay in place. If there's no evidence, it will just get thrown out. But if there's some evidence that it should stay in place, then it will stay in place. So that's the non-molestation order. Oh yeah, but the situation for me is, it got issued to me. At the time, I didn't even know what it was. I went to see a solicitor, and the solicitor said to me, there isn't any evidence here. She wrote out an opposition paper, says all you've got to do is give this to the court clerk when you go to court. So I went to court. The court clerk came to see me and introduced herself as the court official. Have you got an opposition paper? Yes. So I handed it to her. I went into the court, and then we didn't even realise then, but at the end of the hearing, I realised that the person that I'd given the opposition paper to was my ex-partner's barrister. And she'd come over, this Miss E. Williamson, came over, sort of pretending to be a court official to take so I never opposed it. If I'd opposed it, the judge would have thrown it out. But all I was concerned about at the time was seeing my daughter. And they gave me access to my daughter, so I didn't care about anything else. But then when she didn't turn up for any of the contact agreements, I obviously called her up and said, please let me see Bray, I miss her. And she calls the police, and first time I get a slap on the hands. Don't do that again, you've got a court order. Second time I got a month in prison. I got a month, they released me after a week. Third time I got 6 weeks. Next time I got a year and a half, and it just went on like that.